Everybody, welcome back. This is Larry again. Today I'm doing something new, even for myself. You know, I've barbecued, I've cooked indoors, I've made bread, I've made beer. This time I'm doing wine, so stay tuned. Step 1, procure grapes. Here I have is a 6-gallon container of 100% pure unpasteurized grape juice from California, shipped to my local supermarket. It is the grape variety is a Cabernet Sauvignon. You can probably see it down here. And this is my my chosen first wine grape. I took the lid off the grape juice. Here's what you see here. It's just grape juice. You can see it's already starting to ferment. There's bubbles on top, and that's from the wild yeast. And maybe some bacteria maybe in there from the fresh crushed grapes. Because this is not pasteurized. It's not been cooked. It's fresh juice. So I'm going to have to put some potassium metabisulfate in here to help inhibit the growth of these crazy organisms before I add my preferred wine yeast. The next step after getting your grape juice is to start off with a sugar percentage measurement. What you see here is a hydrometer flask with a hydrometer, and what a hydrometer does is measure the sugar content in the liquid. So this is important for the wine to get an idea of what kind of wine you'll end up with and whether or not you need to add sugar to it to make it sweeter for a stronger fermentation or a sweeter wine. So I already took some measurements already, and it looks like I have about 23% sugar. And for those who are homebrewers like myself, the OG or the specific gravity reading was 1.092. Next step, fermentation. Which fermentation vessel do I choose? I have two choices. I could actually do my primary fermentation in the actual plastic bucket, the food grade plastic bucket that the grape juice came in. There's enough head space in there for it to ferment. It's got a nice O-ring seal for the lid, and even like a little pressure relief gasket on top to vent if necessary. Or do I go with the glass carboy, which I'm more comfortable with? I'm also a fan of the carboy because it's glass. You can see through it. You can actually watch the fermentation take place. It's kind of cool to see. It's also got a little temperature strip on there, so I can keep an eye on the temperature of the fermentation. I can actually then move the carboy from a cold room to a warm room or a hot room to a cold room, depending on the temperature in there to help maintain my temperature. And it's also currently being sanitized, so I'll have a sanitized see-through temperature monitored vessel, or a opaque, dark, off-the-shelf bucket. So I think I'm going to go with the carboy. Before I pitch my yeast, a first step when you get fresh, unpasteurized grape juice is that you want to try to subdue or kill off all the bad germs that are floating around inside the grape juice now because it's fresh, and also to minimize the effect of wild yeast. As a home brewer, I know wild yeast can cause some off flavors, so I'm going to throw in some of these Camden tablets. This is actually sodium metabisulfate, or I'm sorry, sodium metabisulfite. And what I did is I took 4 of these little tablets, crushed them in a mortar and pestle into a powder, and I'm going to put that in my primary fermenter or my carboy, and then siphon the yeast on top of that. I'm siphoning my grape juice into my carboy. I had already put the Camden tablets after I crushed them. There was 4 of them that I crushed. I had some residue left over, so I'd probably say I had about 3.5 tablets worth of crushed sodium metabisulfite in here. And now I'm racking all 6 gallons of that grape juice, that Cabernet Sauvignon grape, into this carboy here. And when I'm done, I'm going to let it sit overnight for, overnight, 20 hours probably. And then I'm going to pitch my extra wine yeast in here. Still going. Yeah, here we go. It's about just shy of 6 gallons, probably about 5.8, 5.9 gallons of grape juice, and now I'm just going to let it sit overnight until tomorrow when I will pitch the wine yeast. It's the following day. I let the grape juice sit overnight with the sodium metabisulfite in there. Now I'm going to add my yeast, and I bought a pack of this Lulvin RC212. It's a red wine yeast, and I also already have a a container of yeast nutrient for my homebrew, which is also used for wine. So I'm going to follow the directions for my yeast nutrient to help the wine yeast, and I also have to rehydrate the wine yeast a little bit with about 2 ounces of about 100-degree water here. So I'm going to combine all this together per the instructions on the back of my yeast pack here, upside down, and I will put that into the grape juice. Alright, there we go. I'm going to look inside my my little Pyrex cup. I'm stirring in the yeast with the warm water. I'm going to let it set for 10 minutes. It's been about 10 minutes. I'm going to take off my temporary cover there for my paper towel, and I'm going to add in the yeast. Give it a little stir. Pour it in. And I will add my yeast nutrient next. Next comes the yeast nutrient. Like I said, I got this from the local homebrew shop for my beer, so I'm going to just use it for the wine. It doesn't say what's in it, but I'm assuming it's diammonium phosphate or whatever that stuff is, DAP. Not sure though. But it says about 1 teaspoon per gallon. I got about 6 gallons, so that's going to be about 6 teaspoons. Now that might have been a little less than 6 teaspoons because I didn't make them level, but I'm sure that's plenty good enough. Making a note of the current temperature. It's about, well, I think it's like 68 degrees. So I expect it to rise when it starts peaking during fermentation, but this is the ambient temperature before fermentation starts. It has been 24 hours since I pitched the yeast, and within the first hour, this thing was already bubbling. So 24 hours later, it's really bubbling. You see like the little foam crust there, on that grape foam, and it's about 74 degrees now, the fermentation temperature. It was 65 when I pitched. It was about 70 overnight. Now it's about 74, so it's increasing as it ferments faster and faster. You can see the bubbles going crazy there. So I expect this to go on for at least a few more days, if not a week. It's been 2 weeks, and the primary fermentation is done. The bubbles have slowed in the airlock to about once every several minutes. That tells me primary is far done. The temperature is back down to about 68 degrees. It's really mellowed out, so I'm going to rack this thing to another carboy, and I'm also going to check the specific gravity with the hydrometer again. Alright, here's the hydrometer reading. 2 weeks after fermentation started, I have a 0.996 specific gravity, or a -1 balling reading. So it's fermented out pretty dry. So let's do the siphon. Alright, one thing to do before I start racking this thing into the other fermenter. I got some waste product from my hydrometer reading I need to dispose of properly. So let's take care of that right now, shall we? It's actually pretty good for a 2-week-old wine. It's really dry, a little bit of fruitiness to it. The Cabernet grapes really come through it, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this ages. Alright, I got my second carboy all sanitized sitting down here, and I actually just expunged most of the oxygen out with a tank of CO2 to keep the air out. So what I did was kind of shove this in here and turn on the air for a while and try to get some of that oxygen out of there before I drop my siphon hose in. That's to keep the oxygen contact to a minimum to avoid oxidizing the wine. Alright, siphon started. It's coming down from the primary over my head here, coming down to this empty carboy. It's about a quarter of the way full already. It's filling up. Every so often I put a little bit more CO2 in there to keep the oxygen at bay. Just to make sure, and let's let it fill up. Racking is complete. Now it's time to let this thing settle for probably a couple months and check it on again. It's been a month since I last racked this wine. I'm going to rack it here again now. It's been about a month and a half overall since the start of this process. So the first 2 weeks were the primary fermentation. The past month, past 4 weeks, or almost 5 weeks now, has been it aging in this container. I'm going to transfer it again. There's some settling of stuff on the bottom here that I want to get the wine off of. And also, I'm a little bit cautious, or a little bit worried actually, about the all this headspace in this 6.5 gallon carboy. Oxygen in here can make the wine turn bad, and I've been purging it with my CO2 tank off and on through the top to help purge out some of the oxygen, but I'm still not confident that it's working very well. So I'm going to rack this thing into a 5.5 gallon stainless steel corny keg that I use for home brewing. And then when I get it in there, I'm going to infuse some CO2 in there and purge out the oxygen, so I'll have a CO2 headspace for this thing to age on for the next couple months. Now, before I go ahead and make this transfer, there's one thing I want to do is sample the wine, see how it's progressing for my own knowledge, and I'm also darn curious too. So I'm going to put a wine thief in here, a sanitized wine thief. And I am going to get a little sample here in a glass. Put that all the way in there. There we go. And you know, give it a smell. Smells like wine. It's pretty good. It's more like a sparkling wine. There's a lot of natural carbonation still dissolved in here. Some CO2 is naturally dissolved in here, so it's a little bit tingly on the tongue. The alcohol flavor is sort of dominant, so it's just got a long time to go, before it ages and mellows. Here is my sanitized corny keg. I've already filled this thing with Star San sanitizer and used my carbon dioxide to flush it out and sanitize the dip tube. And what I'm going to do now is take this off. It'll be full of carbon dioxide that will help me keep the oxygen out during the transfer. And I also need to add some sodium metabisulfite in there. So I crushed 3 tablets of the sodium metabisulfite, and you can see there's some is sticking to the inside of the mortar and pestle, so it's probably going to be more like 2 to 2.5. I'm going to toss that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to drop in my wine siphon hose. Alright, drop the hose in there. Put the other end in the wine. Give me a moment here. I dropped sealing, which is causing me some height issues here. There we go. Alright, drop that in there. I got a cloud of CO2 gas already inside the tank, and I'm going to start the siphon now. And there we go. So the goal is to make sure it doesn't splash. Nice quiet siphon transfer. And I'm going to let that go till it's done. The wine has been siphoned. You can see I incorrectly estimated the amount of liquid still in the jug. This is a 5.5 gallon carboy. It's right up to the top. I actually had to come through here and grab a gallon jug really quick and filled it up with the overflow. So I'm going to have to put an airlock on this one for sure and cap this one. Trick there. Now it's going to tend to add a little oxygen. Not too much, just enough to get a little bit of oxygen out of there. Going to turn it off now, and to keep it from carbonating, I'll have to let all the pressurized CO2 out of there and just let the standard atmospheric pressure keep some in there at least. So there we go. I found a better solution. I found a half-gallon jug, and because I was going to have a headspace problem with the gallon jug being only half full of wine, so I had to find a half-gallon jug, fill that up to the very top, and for the time being, I put some sanitized plastic wrap and a rubber band on it to keep it safe from, bacteria and bugs. So I'll just let it age in here. It's been 3 months. It's time to rack it one more time. I want to get the wine off the sediment on the bottom and put it into a nice, new, cleaned, and sanitized keg. You may be wondering what happened to this extra half gallon. Well, quality control purposes. I had to monitor the progress. So, half gallon down already. So, let's rack it. Here it goes. I got some more Camden tablets. I think 3 more crushed up. I'm gonna try to add a little bit more there. While it's filling, I'm gonna do a little wine sample here. So I got my sanitized wine thief. I'll get a little sample here. Give it a taste. See how it is. Alright, all done there. I can still see in there, you might not be able to see it, but there's still some carbon dioxide coming out of the solution. I see the little tiny bubbles bubbling. Tells me this is not quite done yet. I think it's because this thing is so well sealed up with the airlock here and the keg. I'm going to need to find a way to vent this more often than once a day by pulling the rope here, or the valve. So I got to find a solution for this. Alright, let's give this a taste. Yeah, still young wine. Still kind of young. It needs to age more. It's got hints of fruit in it. It's really full-bodied. Pretty good. A little bit of carbon dioxide still in solution. I'll have to get that out of there somehow. And but not bad for wine that's probably about 4.5 months old.